So, you clicked this video from somewhere on the internet, and you probably want to know what my thoughts on the ambi balance changes are. In short, the proposed ambi nerf is kinda dog shit. Now, this might sound like some spy main that doesn't want their weapon ruined just because they're a spy main for no other reason. But I decided to provide an argument with informed reasons as to why the nerf shouldn't occur, as opposed to the former, which is just blindly saying the nerf shouldn't occur just because, kind of a spy main here. Now, a lot of TF2 players and spies have commented on the TF team's recent blog post balance changes regarding the changes the team have made to the weapons. Now, I'm not here to talk about any of the other spy weapons, as to be frank, I don't really care. Many have stated the positive and negatives of the whole debacle as is, and I'm sure their videos provide enough insight as to what the changes to the Dead Ringer and the Your Eternal Reward, etc. entail. I'm simply here to provide my own stance on the Ambassador balance changes. So I figured I should make this short little disclaimer as well, which is that while I do provide facts in these videos, this is still my opinion. Many spy mains like the proposed ambi changes for one reason or another, and as such this video is not meant to discredit or attack their opinion or reasons as to why they think the ambi nerfs are good. This is simply my stance on the argument using my reasoning and experience as to why the ambi nerfs would be bad. So, without further ado, let's jump straight into the video. It's pretty clear that Valve are taking these balance changes from a more competitively gameplay-oriented stance, as they provided the reasons for buffs and nerfs, kinda like League of Legends does. The Darwin's Danger Shield is a good example, where it specifically states about how one sniper is forced to run it due to another using it. So, we need to look at these balance changes from a competitive point of view, since that's the stance Valve is coming from. And if we look at it from said competitive point of view, the nerfs are still kinda dogshit. Now, the main reason why it'll be dogshit is simply this: randomness. In TF2, public servers and Valve casual servers have random crits, random weapon spread, and other elements that are simply out of the player's control. It doesn't promote skillful gameplay, especially when many people are on the receiving or giving end. It feels kinda cheap, just like a gimmick, where you win fights you shouldn't have, and lose fights that you shouldn't have. It's simply there, and players in pubs are kinda forced to deal with them. Now, if you look on the other side of the coin, you have competitive TF2, which removes all elements of randomness it can, and focuses on the skill-based aspect of TF2. No random weapon spread, no random crits, and a large majority of player interactions are controlled by the player's skill alone, with very few luck elements. What Valve's nerf proposes is more randomness and elements that a player can't control. Despite Valve's nerf saying that it won't affect close to medium range engagements, it will, just not to the extent of long range ones. Now, I've played quite a bit of CSGO, around 1300 hours or so I have a good CSGO related example in order to back up this argument. This is a CSGO match, and we're watching Stewie2K. He has a clear advantage over Daps and the other CT player, as he's looking at them and they're not looking at him. He puts his crosshair on their head, shoots, and misses. This creates a bit of a hectic situation where he's forced to switch targets in order to survive. Even though Cloud9 wins this round, this play could have been a lot cleaner had the shot connected. In using this example, it begs the question, why does it even matter? Now, the difference here between TF2 and CSGO is that random weapon spread is a necessity in CSGO, and that's why all CSGO online or LAN games, no matter if the setting is casual or competitive, have the CFR weapon underscore accuracy underscore no spread 0 set to default. If it's set to 1, it's helpful for practicing spray patterns, but apart from that, it serves very little practical purpose. Setting the CFR to 0 prevents players with an MP9 to win long-range duels versus an AK, because the MP9 player has full moving accuracy and no random spread penalty. There would be full jumping accuracy, op no scopes being as accurate as hard scopes, etc. Due to the nature of CSGO, random weapon spread needs to be included in order to make sure players can't get away with gimmicks. Now, if we look at TF2, the game is a lot faster paced than CSGO. You have flying demo men, flying soldiers, scouts running around everywhere, medics having a high movement speed, etc. It's just not a slow paced game like CSGO is. If you combine this point with the clip that I just showed, if random weapon spread was enabled for the first shot of the Ambassador, what it would do is it would create inconsistencies at medium range engagements, which if we look back at that video, I would consider that a somewhat medium range engagement. It's not cross map, and it's a relative distance away where the shot should connect. It just didn't because of randomness. The difference between TF2 and CSGO is that this randomness is somewhat passable because of the elements that I stated before. It needs to be included. Plus, if you consider the fact that the SG553 is more accurate than the AK-47, is just not as frequently used by any stretch of the imagination, the SG actually would have one shot at that range, especially when scoped in. It's designed to be a more expensive and more accurate weapon, but it's just that people rarely use it. As such, this is kind of passable in CSGO. However, in TF2, as I said before, the classes move a lot faster, the action is a lot faster paced, and this wouldn't be excusable, because if I manage to land a headshot on a scout AD-ADing at medium range, or at least attempt to, it should connect. But if this inconsistency is created, it might not. This all ties back into the word gimmicks. Luck, randomness, RNG, elements out of the player's control. For a competitively geared update, pushing out the Ambi Nerf would promote randomness like many other TF2 pub mechanics and inherently not be skillful. Imagine the CSGO scene in a Highlander game. Picture this instead. The spy has a clear shot on the enemy sniper, and the sniper's below the health he needs to be in order for the Ambi headshot to kill. The spy aims directly on the head, shoots, and misses. Now, the sniper knows what the spy is if he has half a brain and headphones, calls it to his team, and the spy is at least rendered useless for 5 to 10 seconds, if not dead. This also takes into account the spy having to wait before his headshot cooldown is recharged, which I still believe is a fine mechanic for the Ambi to have, so if he's still intent on killing the sniper before he finds health or gets away, he's even more screwed. The key problem with this is that it's not just long-range scenarios that are affected. It's not just going to be, cross-map spy versus cross-map sniper, which one will win. It's not going to be just that. What will also be affected is somewhat long to medium range engagements. Why it'll be affected is because of those randomness values and why they exist. If the spy is even slightly off the center of the head, which is what happens in most scenarios, even if the spy is slightly off the head, at a medium range it can still miss because of the other uncertainty variables and values within shooting the head. If you're just to the right of the center of the head, there's a higher probability that the shot will miss if random weapon spread will be enabled for the first shot, because the shot could potentially land on the right side of the head and end up missing. Another issue with the update that Valve proposes is that it fails to consider the fast-paced nature that TF2 has in competitive. In competitive, barely any class stands still even for a millisecond. As such, it's incredibly difficult to consistently land enemy headshots, especially on scouts or rocket/sticky jumping soldiers or demos. Not to mention the fact that closer to medium ranges, you'd have to move your mouse a lot more across the screen in order to hit someone that's walking right in front of you, especially a scout. The only exception to this might be a sniper, but he can still be AD-ADing in order to make it difficult for the spy to hit him unless from this side. It's definitely easier to headshot revved heavies, walking soldiers, and scope snipers than it is for any of the other classes though. With all this said, let's point back to the CSGO example. Random weapon spread needs to be included in CSGO for the reasons I already provided. However, in TF2, especially in a competitive setting, random weapon spread on the ambassador would just go ahead and inhibit skill and not actually end up promoting it. The main problem with this update, if it's pushed out, is that Valve will inherently be creating a risk-reward system on a system that should not be risk-reward. Aim should not be risk-reward. If you know your aim is good, you line up the shot, you know you can hit the shot, and you take the shot, it should land, especially when you consider the fast-paced nature of a game like TF2. But when you go ahead and take out the ability to consistently land headshots on classes like fast-moving scouts, fast-moving soldiers, fast-moving medics, fast-moving literally anything, what that does is that it takes away the ability to win engagements based on skill, and instead introduces this element that players have to think of in the back of their head, is it even worth it to take the engagement at this point? The problem is that this is what Valve wants. They kind of want the player to go ahead and say, okay, this is a medium range engagement, I might miss, I should not take this engagement, and instead go ahead and try to knife. Valve fails to consider something else again in this, and that's the fact that in competitive Highlander, there's always going to be a pyro spy checking, the NG should be spy checking as well, the heavy is going to be spy checking around him, and the demo is just going to be looking around every few seconds as well, just to see if there's a spy. So there's going to be people constantly checking if there's a spy right behind them wanting to stab, and in situations like that, getting the stab just might not be possible. This is where the ambassador should come in, where it can go ahead and take out people that are in the combo that are still low health. For example, if their demo is 70 health and you're at a distance where you can't come in to knife him because, the combo's just doing what they need to do. They're doing their job, which is protecting the medic and making sure that spies can't get in. If you don't see that opportunity with a knife, that's why an opportunity with the gun exists. Knowing which situation to use which weapon in is skillful. Removing the ability to even use one of those weapons reliably at a range where you should be able to reliably use it is not skillful. I know I've talked a lot about in this rant, I guess, about skillful, luck, elements of randomness, etc., as well as like uncertainty values and whatever, but the point is that when you take engagements at a medium range, which is the main problem I'm having with this, at long range engagements, it makes sense, like with the AK-47 in the example that I provided before, it makes sense that you shouldn't be able to one-tap everyone just across the map, every single situation, even if it is skillful, because the SG-553 serves that purpose in CSGO. In regards to what Valve is trying to do, I 100% agree. A spy should not be able to go ahead and just take out a sniper from across the map. I agree with that statement. What I don't agree with is changing the accuracy variables so that there is a chance that a skillful spy could miss a shot when they shouldn't. There should be no chance, no elements of RNG, no randomness whatsoever, especially in a competitively geared update. If you introduce this randomness element, it creates an inconsistency where even at closer to medium range engagements, players have the slight doubt in their head, is this shot actually going to hit? That slight doubt should not exist in their head even at the medium range engagements, because those medium range engagements are not long range sniper range engagements. Those aren't like the cross map engagements that I keep referencing over and over and over again. Those engagements, the spy should not be able to win, but at the medium range engagements, the spy should at least have somewhat of a chance. So, because of this, I decided to go ahead and follow Valve's idea, which is that the spy shouldn't win the long-range engagements against the sniper. I get that. So, I have my own proposed bounce change as to what exactly the ambassador should do. After a certain number of hammer units, I don't know what the specific number should be, but after a certain number of hammer units, the damage should decrease slightly. And it continues to decrease slightly after each greater value of a hammer unit, up until like a certain point where it's capped so that it can't do any lower damage. I think making the damage at the longest of ranges 70 is a good idea, because it won't go ahead and make it so that the spy wins every single long range engagement that he can take just because he has good aim, but it still makes it so that it rewards the skillfulness that is TF2 and being able to hit those shots. I know this sounds like a lot. It's been like, I'm recording this right now, it's been 12 minutes and 18 seconds in this video. That's quite a lot. So I'm just going to go ahead and summarize it in one short, simple sentence. A competitively geared update should not introduce elements of randomness. By introducing this element of randomness, the spy would have to doubt what engagement he takes. It would limit the number of engagements he could take. It would overall make him a weaker class than he already is, which is a fairly weak class, might I add. And this wraps up my sort of summary, if you can even call it that. It's more like a thesis. This sort of wraps up my argument as to why I believe the Ambassador nerf should not go through. Of course, if your opinion is different than mine and you have different reasons than mine, please feel free to leave those reasons in the comments below. And of course, I always look forward to interacting with you guys soon. So, see you later. Peace.